Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Philadelphia Phillies in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Phillies, right-hander Zach Wheeler, and for the right-hander Yu Darvish. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 4:35 p.m. as the Padres look for another win in this three-game set against Philly. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. I go one-on-one with Padres left fielder Gavin Sheets. In just a few minutes, we check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler. Our keys to the game, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup, and much, much more. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 51-43. They entered the day sitting a half game out of the final wild card spot in the National League. Meanwhile, the Phillies come in 50-40. They're a half game up on the Mets for first place in the National League East. This is the final series before the All-Star break. These two teams played in Philadelphia just last week. They're now 2-2 against each other so far this season, and you never know, that season series could be very important at the end of the year. Well, the Padres faced a tough lefty in Ranger Suarez last night in the series opener. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
The Padres trailed 1-0 in the second. They put 2 on and nobody out for Jose Iglesias.
0-2. And Iglesias lines it the other way. That's a fair ball down the right field line. Bogart's going to trot home. Merrill's racing towards third. Tim Leeper will hold him there. And into second with an RBI double, Jose Iglesias. This is a 1-1 game.
Elias Diaz then played it a run with a ground out. That gave the Padres a 2-1 lead. Padres weren't done in the second. Fernando Tatis Jr. was next.
A team that has an obvious flaw. 0-1, line sharply into right center. March to the gap, not going to get there. Down for a base hit. Iglesias can score. Tatis an RBI single, and the Padre lead is now 3-1.
Padres put together a 3-run second. They had a 3-1 lead. Kyle Schwarber hit a solo home run in the top of the third. That made it 3-2. It would stay 3-2. Ryan Berger went 4 2/3 innings. Yuki Matsui stranded the bases loaded in the 5th inning. Jeremiah Estrada pitched the scoreless 6th. Adrian Morejon did the same in the 7th. Jason Adam got in major trouble in the 8th inning. The bases were loaded. Only 1 out for Nick Castellanos.
Here's the 3-2. Swung on, little number out in front of the plate. It'll be picked up by Adam. Glove flip home in time. They get the force at the plate as Turner slid in feet first right after Jason Adam flipped it to Diaz 2 away.
Adam got out of that inning and left them loaded. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Manny Machado provided a little bit of insurance.
Baseball in right field.
Ball hit in the air to deep right field. Castellanos going back. He is at the wall, leaps up, gonna go! Manny Machado goes opposite field. The Padre lead is extended to 2 as Manny goes yard for the second straight night. And he welcomes Max Lazar to the ball game as the Padres now lead it 4-2.
A 4-2 Padre lead. Going to the 9th inning, Robert Suarez came on.
Marsh waiting in the left-handed batter's box as Suarez now comes set and ready. No balls and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch on the way. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Pumped a fastball past him. And the trio of all-stars shuts the door for the Padres in the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Suarez collects his major league leading 28th save of the season. And the Padres a very impressive win in Game 1 of this series. They beat the Phillies 4-2.
A very nice win for the Padres yesterday. 2 straight wins for the Pods, and now the Padres looking to win a 3rd in a row since the first 3 games of the month of June. So it's been a while since the Padres have won 3 straight games, and that's what they'll try to accomplish here today in Game 2 of this 3-game set. First pitch coming up at 4:35 here in downtown San Diego. Let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Jesse, certainly a nice couple of wins for the Padres the last couple of days. And one thing that was consistent in both of them, the Padres were very aggressive with their bullpen, which means today you're looking at a situation where Robert Suarez, Adrian Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada, Jason Adam have all pitched in back-to-back games. Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres today, and I think the headline heading into this one, at least for me, is it will be interesting to see how the Padres go about that bullpen today, considering the circumstances and obviously against a very good Philly lineup.
Yeah, obviously it starts with Yu Darvish, and you get as much out of him as you possibly can, and then you got to figure it out after that. But look, I don't think there's any doubt what you just said is true. Hard time imagining that we see any of those guys. And presumably Darvish is not going to go 9, obviously. Only his second start back from a long stint on the injured list. So you're going to need some other guys to step up, and whether that's Brian Hoeing, maybe being able to take down a couple of key innings, or Wandy Peralta coming in at a big spot, David Morgan maybe having to do some things in situations that are a bit out of the norm for him. That's it, man. It's a team game for a reason, right? And sometimes other guys got to be the ones who step up and make it happen. And whether that's Schwarber and Harper or, whoever else on whatever team you want to talk about, there are going to be days like that. So, there's a challenge ahead for this pitching staff today. That's just kind of the reality of the moment. But I don't think there's any doubt, and certainly none in my mind, that what they did the last 2 nights made perfect sense considering the circumstances. You just sort of see those moments. All right, this might put us behind the 8 ball in a couple of days, but we got a shot here. And they took their shot Thursday against Arizona, and they won. Took another shot last night against the Phillies, and they won. And you worry about today, you worry about tomorrow. And yes, now tomorrow has arrived, but the Padres have back-to-back wins for the first time in a couple of weeks because of it.
You're totally right. It was aggressive bullpen management, but it worked. They got the 2 wins, and now they'll try to squeak one out today. Another very challenging part of today's game, Jesse, is the guy in the mound for the Phillies in Zach Wheeler. This guy is maybe heading towards a Cy Young Award here in 2025. He was excellent against the Padres at home last week, and he was once again terrific against the Cincinnati Reds. He's pitching about as well as anybody right now.
Yeah, no, I think he is right now the favorite for the Cy Young in the National League. Obviously, what does that mean on July 12th? Who knows? That's been a couple of months. But to this point, he's been the best starter in the National League. I think he's the best pitcher the Padres have seen this season, and we've seen some really good ones, obviously. You just kind of noted his start, even after throwing 8 shutout innings against the Padres a week and a half ago against the Reds on Sunday, was even better. He was one batter away from a perfect game. It was a solo homer, but, that was it. He faced 1 over the minimum, never worked out of the stretch against the Reds in his last start. This guy is nasty. He throws the ball hard. He throws the ball where he wants it. He makes the ball go many different directions at many different speeds. He's the complete package. And, for my money, he's been the best pitcher in the NL this year. Had he been participating, he turned down the opportunity to do so. But if he had been participating in the All-Star game in his hometown of Atlanta on Tuesday, he'd probably be the starter for the National League. That's how good this guy has been. And as you said, we saw that a week and a half ago.
Jesse, let's finish up quickly with the offense. It's not like the Padres are scoring a ton of runs. They're scoring enough on a lot of days to win. But I do feel like, and I wonder if you agree, I do feel like the overall quality of the at-bats and how it's looked has certainly seemed a little bit better as of late.
For sure. I think Tony and I had a conversation maybe a week ago. Was it during the Rangers series at the beginning of this homestand where it felt to me, and Tony agreed, and he obviously has a much better eye for this than I do, but the offense was starting to come around. It wasn't a quick turn. I think I said it wasn't a speedboat, coming around a big bend. It was more like a barge trying to work its way through a channel. But nonetheless, it felt like it was starting to turn a little bit. I still feel like that's the case. And then, oh, by the way, Fernando has looked much, much better the last few games. That obviously is a big help. Xander's been on a great roll. You add in the consistency of Machado and Sheets. Maryland Arise, maybe not at their peak right now, but that's okay. There's enough quality here that if you have, I don't know, what is it, like 4 of those guys going, at the same time at once, you're probably going to be good enough most nights. Mm-hmm. And then, you hope they all click together at some point. And when they do, I think that's when we all expect this offense to really be firing the way it was at the beginning of the season, and for this team to have the results they were having at the beginning of the season.
Jesse, good stuff. We'll talk to you and Tony Gwynn Jr. coming up at 4:25. As always, thanks so much.
You got it, Sam.
All right, that is Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. Here in downtown San Diego, we've got somebody that has come to visit me inside the loft. It's her birthday. What's your name? Shelly. Okay, happy birthday, Shelly. Happy birthday, Shelly. Enjoy your afternoon at the ballpark, and should be a lot of fun. Why not? Great place to spend a birthday here at Petco Park. When we come back, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, a little bit later, I go one-on-one with one of the real good stories for the Padres this season. That is Gavin Sheets. Gavin back in left field today for the Pods. Much, much more to do as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:35. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Stay tuned to
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 4:35 between the Padres and the Philadelphia Phillies. Game 2 of this 3-game series on what is turning into a beautiful late afternoon here in downtown San Diego. Right-hander Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres today. Right-hander Zach Wheeler, who has been one of the best pitchers in baseball this season, on the mound for Philadelphia. Padres did make a move earlier today. They recalled right-hander Alec Jacob from AAA El Paso. He'll be available today out of the Padres bullpen. They optioned right-hander Ryan Berger to AAA El Paso. Also, just a note for you, Xander Bogaerts enters today in the midst of a 6-game hit streak after collecting 3 hits last night. He's batting .474 in that 6-game hit streak with 3 walks and 3 runs scored. In fact, if you look at Xander's last 20 games, he's hitting .394 in that span with 8 extra base hits, 9 walks, and 10 runs scored. In that 20-game span, he's raised his season batting average by 37 points. As we get ready for today's game, let's go downstairs and hear from the Padre manager.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
Mike, let's start with the guy on the mound today, Yu Darvish. Obviously, I'm sure it was great to get him back on the mound, but I would imagine equally as important that he seemed to recover well and he's back out there 5 days later today.
Both are very important. I mean, it starts with getting him out there, which he was able to get out, compete, looked good. We know we're taking care of him from a pitch count standpoint, but then secondarily, him recovering and being able to go today on regular rest is important going into the break. And we're excited to have him get out there today and compete. Should be a great matchup.
You did have a move today, Alec Jacob up from AAA El Paso, Ryan Bergert sent back down. Can you walk us through kind of the reasoning behind it?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, and it's unfortunate for Berger because, gosh darn, he threw the ball well and it's thrown the ball fantastic. But it's a combination of at least primarily just making sure we are fortified in our bullpen. We've had some shorter starts, and we'll see how many you can go today, and so it's more of a bullpen roster management standpoint, and taking advantage of the break as well.
Zach Wheeler on the mound for the Phillies today. Obviously, he's been really good so far this season. How do you approach not just that caliber of pitcher, but especially when you're facing him for the second time in a really short span?
It's tough. He's an all-star. I felt like the last time he threw, just honest evaluation, he was as good as anybody we've seen all year. And he's a really tough competitor coming off a complete game, but I do feel like the recency can help us. Pitching's usually ahead of hitting, but the more looks these guys get at guys, the better off they typically are, and we're excited for the opportunity today.
Xander Bogaerts had 3 more hits last night. His numbers as of late have been really good. You talked a number of weeks ago about the metrics for Xander showing things and maybe the numbers on the field not necessarily matching up. Do you feel like he's doing anything differently right now, or is it just the numbers starting to show with the results on the field?
That's the thing about numbers and processes. There's no guarantee in this game, not a long diatribe about that, but if you continue to do the things well in this game, you will eventually get rewarded, but not always get rewarded. And Xander was able to continue to work towards being consistent, stayed with the process, which was important because sometimes you can look, hey, I got to do something different to get a result. I applaud him for staying with it because he knows that's also a reason why he's been a 5-time Silver Slugger and 2-time World Series, and a guy that's contributed to winning on this club for a couple of years now. And he stayed with it, and now it's just about getting results. It's no different really than Dylan Cease, whose numbers, you look at those are pretty darn good, and the results haven't taken place. And I know we get into more trouble if we try to change it and search and those numbers go backwards. Now we're more guaranteed of a result that we don't that we would probably not want.
Gavin's transition to left field and kind of how he's grown in that. Can you speak to the way it's helped you kind of manage your roster in terms of giving guys days at DH, how important that is?
Huge. It's been very important. Him being able to go out and represent and play clean defensively and improve, and he's put a lot of work in. You guys come out before the games and see him out there. He's really been intentional about what the work looks like, and he's been great. He made a nice play yesterday on the ball slicing away from him. He throws good, and I got a nice arm, very accurate arm. But it helps create an opportunity for him to go out there and perform, and then open up a DH spot that, for example, tonight, lets Brooks come in there and take an at-bat, some at-bats against Wheeler, or for example, yesterday gets Iglesias in the field and it gets Bogey or Manny or Louie or some of those guys off their feet. And it's been able to keep them a little more fresh. So it has a lot of residual positives.
How does it line up with, like, when you brought him in, what the plan was for him here? Has he kind of exceeded like where you envisioned him defensively?
I would say he's met every bit of it. You know, we did our homework on it. Knew first, looked good at first in spring training. Didn't know how much opportunity we needed for him in the outfield, but knew he had it in his bag. Knew the bat was going to be the calling card, and that, you know, jumped out immediately, and he asserted himself in the lineup with his bat, and then we found a spot, and then him being able to go play effectively in the outfield has been something that, not say surprising, but something that it's been nice to see and know that it's there.
I think since we spoke to you yesterday, like we talked to you about having 3 All-Stars in your bullpen, but we since learned that like it's the first time it's ever happened in big history. Obviously, like aside from like those guys being really good and having really good seasons, do you just think like relievers in general are maybe getting more respect now? And
yes.
Appreciate it more?
Yeah, why I wouldn't have any idea, because we all look at the game from different lenses, right? And I've looked at it from the manager lens at a lot of different levels, including this one for a while now. And I can tell you this, my perception of how smart I am or how not smart a manager I am can be largely affected by your bullpen's effectiveness. And so, you know, good teams, winning teams have good bullpens. You know, I've been blessed to have a lot of good teams at a lot of different levels, and typically always had good bullpens. And, you know, if you get and fight to get that lead in the 6th inning, you need to bring it home. And, you know, so it's important to me why the industry hasn't looked at it maybe the same or valued it or paid it or, you know, included in all-star games is something is a little bit of a head scratcher. But to your point, I do think the more people see this game and the more people, especially starters not going as deep, see the value of it, it's starting to slowly trickle into just how valuable these guys are.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this afternoon. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we continue our pregame coverage. Let's quickly pause for station identification on the Padres Radio Network.
KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Hi, this is Jackson Merrill. The Padres play here on 97.3 The Fan.
And Odyssey Sports Station.
We'll take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues in just a moment, but I just do want to dive a little bit deeper into the move. Alec Jacob recalled from AAA, added to the Padres bullpen today. Ryan Berger sent back down to AAA. Again, you have to keep in mind, and this is nothing against Berger, why this happened. You have to keep in mind that the Padres today are in a situation where Morejon, Suarez, Adam, and Estrada have all pitched 2 days in a row. Been a heavy workload for all those guys. Ryan Berger is not going to pitch again before the All-Star break. So the Padres, remember, can reset the rotation out of the break. Doesn't mean that Berger's not going to have to miss a start, but they can make it so they can get through it the best they can. I'm sure Ryan Berger will be back up here pretty close to when he's eligible to be back up and then work back into the rotation. However, they were just sort of in that situation today where I think they had to add an arm to the bullpen. So Alec Jacob is that guy, and Ryan Berger is the guy who is sent down. So we'll see how it all works out when he makes his next start in the major leagues and how the Padres manipulate the rotation out of the All-Star break. Let's take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues as we go around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you Around the Horn, presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
The Mariners' Cal Raleigh hit his 37th and 38th home runs of the season yesterday in Detroit. That set a new American League record for the most home runs before the All-Star break. If Raleigh hits one more before the break, he did not have one today in the Mariners' 15-7 win in Detroit. But if he does get one more tomorrow, that would tie Barry Bonds for the most home runs before the break. In Major League history, Bonds hit 39 before the All-Star break in 2001. It has been a tremendous first half of the season for Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh. Brewers starter Jacob Mizorowski is going to the All-Star game after making just 5 major league starts. The 23-year-old is averaging nearly 100 miles per hour on his fastball. He was announced as a replacement for the Cubs' Matthew Boyd, who can't pitch on Tuesday because he's starting today. Now, an interesting part of this, and it also ties into today's game here, the Phillies were not happy about it in the clubhouse yesterday because they feel like Christopher Sanchez and Ranger Suarez should be there over a guy like Mizorowski, who's made a grand total of 5 major league starts. Here were some of the quotes from the Phillies in the clubhouse last night. Trey Turner said, quote, "What a joke. That's terrible." And there was also a word in there that I can't say. JT Realmuto said, quote, "Nothing against the Mizorowski kid, but those two are deserving of being on the team in the first place." He's talking about Sanchez and Suarez. Realmuto added, "There's no doubt." So there were some other comments from the Phillies clubhouse yesterday. They were not happy about it, but it was a big story yesterday. Mizorowski going to the All-Star game after just 5 major league appearances. He is one of the more exciting arms in the major leagues, but it's a new record for most few innings, most few appearances and playing time to send a player to the All-Star game in their rookie season. So that's a look at some of the headlines from the major leagues, and we'll see how Mizorowski does if he gets into that All-Star game on Tuesday, the Home Run Derby on Monday in Atlanta. Just 2 games remaining before the break today, and then a nice little 4-day stretch where the Padres won't play, as certainly many guys will be enjoying the All-Star festivities, and then they have a long road trip out of the break beginning in Washington on Friday. When we come back, I go one-on-one with Padres left fielder Gavin Sheets, plus we give you our keys to today's game, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup, a couple of veteran right-handers going at it in Yu Darvish and Zach Wheeler. First pitch coming up at 4:35 on the Padres Radio Network.
Hey, San Diego, it's Woodsy. My family discovered the perfect balance of yin.
Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, improving your family's water one tap at a time. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park. First pitch is coming up at 4:35 for Game 2 of this 3-game series. Everybody having a great time here inside the Western Metal Building. This place is absolutely packed on this Saturday afternoon. Everybody enjoying their beers and their mixed drinks and all the great food here at Petco Park. I was actually making a video earlier today. I'll tell you where I was in our next segment. And to me, it's a hidden gem here at Petco Park. You're going to see a social media video on it at some point from me, but I'll let you know about that in our next segment. One of the real hidden gems here at Petco Park in downtown San Diego. Our keys to the game coming up, plus I go one-on-one with Gavin Sheets. But first, let's update you on the injuries for the Padres and the Phils.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Not really much new to update you on today. Max Kepler fouled the pitch off his leg in his final at-bat on Wednesday for the Phillies in San Francisco. He later exited the game, but Kepler was back in the lineup yesterday, and Kepler is back in there today for the Phillies, batting 8th and playing left field. As far as the Padres pitching injuries, Michael King threw a 25-pitch bullpen on Thursday. That's the latest we have on King, and all the reports from that so far have been good. Also, Joe Musgrove reported by MLB.com today he has extended his throwing distance while playing catch to 120 feet. And that's a quick look at the injury updates on this Saturday. First pitch coming up at 4:35. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number 1. Find a way against Wheeler. We'll have much more on Zach Wheeler in our next segment, but let's do a little preview right now. This guy is the odds-on favorite right now to win the National League Cy Young Award. Wheeler has a 1.25 ERA in his last 10 starts, and 2/3 of the runs he's allowed in that span came in one bad outing in Atlanta. Wheeler has been tremendous against the Padres in his career, including last week in Philly. He's 6-1 with a 1.74 ERA in 12 career starts against the Padres. That includes the 2022 NLCS. He's thrown 16 consecutive scoreless innings against them going back to 2023. So what's the key today? Well, the Padres got to find a way to, at the very least, run up his pitch count and get him out of the game. Try to get him out of the game. But it's a tough test today against Zach Wheeler. Key number 2, not on the big 4. You got to step up. When I say big 4, I'm talking Suarez, Morejon, Estrada, and Adam. All 4 of those guys have pitched 2 straight days. I'd imagine there's a good possibility they are all unavailable tonight. So, Yuki Matsui, Ryan Hoeing, Wandy Peralta, David Morgan, the newly added Alec Jacob. Gentlemen, it's your turn. They've thrown a combined 7 pitches from Yuki Matsui in the last 2 games. It is very, very possible, especially if the Padres have a lead, that they're going to have to rely on some very different guys to get it done in the late innings. That's key number 2. Key number 3, Fernando continuing to set the tone. There is no doubt that Fernando Tatis Jr. is starting to play a lot better. He's 6 for 14 in the last 4 games with a home run, a double, and 2 walks. In 10 games in July, he's now batting .333 with a .467 on-base percentage, 3 stolen bases, 2 doubles, a triple, a home run, and 5 RBIs in that span. Fernando, of course, back in the leadoff spot and playing right field today for the Pods. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you what's going on around the majors on this Saturday.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a lot of games that have already gone final today. A lot of early games around the big leagues. Brewers beat the Nationals 6-5. Mets beat the Royals in Kansas City 3-1. Garrett Crochet threw a complete game shutout in a 1-0 win for the Red Sox against the Rays. That is a 9th consecutive win for the Red Sox. The Reds beat the Rockies 4-3 in Cincinnati. Dodgers ended a 7-game losing streak with a 2-1 win in San Francisco. Marlins 6, Orioles 0 in Baltimore. Braves beat the Cardinals 7-6 in St. Louis. The Braves hit 3 home runs in that game. Twins beat the Pirates 12-4 in Minnesota. Mariners beat up the Tigers 15-7 in Detroit. The Cubs beat the Yankees 5-2 in New York. Games going on right now, just one of them. Guardians 5, White Sox 2 in the 9th inning in Chicago. Everything else coming up later. Rangers and the Astros in Houston at 4:35. Really good pitching matchup there. Jacob deGrom on the mound for the Rangers. Framber Valdez on the mound for Houston. Diamondbacks and the Angels in Anaheim at 6:38. Good pitching matchup there as well. Zach Gallen against Yusei Kikuchi. And the Blue Jays and the A's in Sacramento at 7:05. And that's a quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday. When we come back, I go one-on-one with Padres left fielder Gavin Sheets. Gavin back in the cleanup spot today for the Pods. Much more to do as we get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series coming up here at Petco Park. Our pregame coverage continues after this on the Padres Radio Network.
You're listening to the EcoWater.
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:35. Padres looking for another win against the Phillies in Game 2 of this 3-game series. Padres looking for a third consecutive win. Third consecutive win. Had a little voice crack there. Third consecutive win. It would be the Padres' first 3-game win streak since they won the first 3 games in June. So it has been more than a month since the Padres last won 3 games in a row. One thing to note today, Kyle Schwarber is looking to become only the second player in Phillies franchise history to reach 30 home runs, or I should say, let me rephrase. Kyle Schwarber is now the only second player in Padres franchise history to reach 30 home runs before the All-Star break with his home run yesterday. Mike Shildt holds the club record with 31 home runs before the break. So Schwarber, if he gets a home run today or tomorrow, will tie Mike Shildt for the Phillies club record for home runs before the All-Star break. And not that you're necessarily interested in all that, but I bring it up because Kyle Schwarber, he loves to hit here. He has hurt the Padres for a number of years now, and guess what? He went deep right field in yesterday's game, and Schwarber has some good numbers against Yu Darvish as well. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. First, let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for here today in Game 2 of this 3-game set. Can Manny continue to mash? Manny Machado has 4 home runs in his last 8 games, including 1 on Thursday against Arizona, 1 in last night's win against the Phillies, so 2 home runs in 2 days. Manny trying to make it 3 for 3 today, and again, he's hitting a lot of home runs as of late. 4 home runs in his last 8 games. And that's a look at what to watch for today. Can Manny Machado continue to mash the baseball? Well, one guy that has had a terrific first half of the season and has been one of the real good stories for the Padres here in 2025 is, of course, today's left fielder, Gavin Sheets. Sheets enters the day batting .265 with a .775 OPS, 14 home runs, and 50 RBIs. And I do think you have to put Gavin Sheets' season in context. Remember, he showed up at Padres spring training in Peoria, Arizona on a minor league deal, hit a bunch of home runs in Cactus League play, basically forced himself onto the roster with the power he showed and the way he was hitting the baseball, and key part of this Padres lineup in the first half of the season. Such a key part, he's batting cleanup here today. I caught up with Gavin Sheets inside the clubhouse earlier today here at Petco Park.
How do you reflect on what this season has been so far?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. Obviously we're playing really good baseball, and being a piece of that and being an everyday guy right now it's been a blessing. It's what I was hoping to get to the point to do in the off season when we were talking here, and but to look back now, 95 games, whatever, we are at All-Star break, and see them helping the team win games, and that we're doing exactly what I thought we'd do, is competing for a playoff spot, and it's been a great start.
You alluded to your expectations when you signed here. Could you have, and I know you have belief in yourself, but could you have envisioned this in particular, kind of the way it's played out?
To be honest, no. I think it's what you hope for. It's what all I wanted was a opportunity to compete, opportunity to come in and win a spot first and foremost, and then, try to get to the point where I'm helping the team every day. And, that was, I wasn't thinking about numbers. I wasn't thinking about production. I was just thinking about getting that opportunity and compete for a spot and help team win ball games. And to be able to do that every day it's been awesome.
I know I've talked to you quite a bit about your development as a hitter this year, the work you've put in with Victor Rodriguez. These were conversations we were having going back to spring training. What would you say in an overall sense is the biggest difference between Gavin Sheets this season in the first half and the Gavin Sheets of years prior?
I think just the confidence on a daily basis, confidence that one in my swing and in my ability. And I think also the confidence eluded by everybody around me, the staff, Shildt, Victor, all these guys that are just eluding confidence in me to be an everyday guy, to be in the lineup every day, lefties, righties. And I think I feed off of that. I feed off that positive feedback every day, and look forward to getting to the field and competing every day.
Everybody inside the clubhouse today is wearing a special edition. It seems like Manny Machado 2000 career hit shirts. Obviously, he accomplished that earlier this week. What has it been like for you to watch Manny and be his teammate this year?
It's been awesome, especially as a Baltimore guy growing up and seeing him being there for his debut in Baltimore, and now seeing the behind the scenes stuff it's been special. It's kind of exactly what I expected it to be, but obviously seeing it up close and just the way he competes every day. Seeing the way he handles the training room, seeing the way he handles the weight room, seeing the way he just goes about his business and does it as a pro. And you know what you're going to get every day from him, and it's been fun to watch up close.
We're joined by Gavin Sheets here on the Padres Radio Network. Gavin, you're playing a lot of left field. We talked a little bit about that back early in the season. I don't know that you necessarily expected to play out there as much as you have, but as of late, I mean, your work out there has been really solid. How do you feel like you're developing as an outfielder?
Yeah, it's been good. Just the biggest thing is just been buying into it, taking it and, working every day to get better. And obviously there's room to get better every day. And, but just embracing being out there and enjoying it and enjoying the grind.
Finally, you and your wife are expecting any day now. It sounds like. What's the feelings right now as you get ready to welcome your first child to the world?
It's crazy. Puts everything in perspective. It's being a dad and is one of the coolest things that you could possibly be, and getting ready for the baby to come any minute tonight, hopefully tomorrow morning, and it's pretty special.
Well, Gavin, congratulations on all that. Should be a very special all-star break for your family. Congratulations on a great first half. Great talking to you, and we'll talk to you more in the second half.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
On the mound for the Phillies today, right-hander Zach Wheeler. The 35-year-old is in the midst of a tremendous season, 9-3, a 2.17 ERA in 18 starts, 116 innings, a National League leading 148 strikeouts. Wheeler has been tremendous lately. He went 8 scoreless innings against the Padres on the final day of June. Then he followed it up last Sunday by throwing a complete game against the Reds. He allowed just 1 hit. That was a solo home run, walked nobody, struck out 12. He was 1 solo home run away from a perfect game against the Reds. Since the beginning of June, Wheeler has a 0.68 ERA. Tough test for the Padres offense here today. Meanwhile, right-hander Yu Darvish on the mound for San Diego. He turns 39 next month. Darvish gave up 2 runs in 3 2/3 innings in his season debut against Arizona on Monday through 63 pitches in that one. Darvish has a 2.27 ERA in 10 career starts against the Phillies, including the 2022 postseason. Darvish hasn't seen him since July of 2023. A matchup to watch today for sure. Kyle Schwarber against Darvish. We alluded to this earlier. Schwarber is 5 for 14 against Darvish with a couple of home runs, including a 488-foot home run in Game 1 of the 2022 NLCS. Schwarber hit his 30th home run last night. You got to keep an eye on Kyle Schwarber against Yu Darvish. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. Yu Darvish against Zach Wheeler. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. Well, the Padres picked up a nice win on Thursday against Arizona. A really good win yesterday against Philadelphia. What does this Saturday have in store? Well, we're going to find out when we come back. We send things out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.